How are you?
Hey, great. I'm doing well. It's so fun to see technology work. We can be in totally different spaces and times, and yet we still connect. So this is
I
great.
know. It's amazing. And you'll have to bear with me because I've got 3 kids on virtual learning today. So I went off my Wi-Fi on my data just so hopefully this will work. So I'm so happy to have you here. And Amber, I feel like we have so much to discuss and we have a lot of people
Oh,
already joining right now. So for everyone who's joining me, I am speaking to, oh my gosh, such a dear friend of mine and contributor to my book, Amber Bodily. She is a medical intuitive and a master foot zonologist and founder of Amber Bodily Health. So she's going to be talking all about her work today, her background. We have her for 30 minutes. So if you have any questions for her, drop them in the chat and we will make sure to ask them as long as we have enough time. So Amber, let's take it away. Why don't you share with everyone who's joining right now? Let's start from the beginning. Share your background, your work is what you do as a medical intuitive and a foot zoner, but I'd also love for you to share a little bit about your personal story to how you came to be a healer because it has to do with your son. So would love for you to start there.
absolutely. And of course, I got to think, how do we fit this all in 30 minutes? So
I know.
snippets and points, but I was a graphic designer for 17 years in the Silicon Valley. I specialized in corporate identity and I loved doing what I used to do, my career, my passion. But what happened is it's all relative, but I got married a little bit later in life and wanted to have kids, had problems getting pregnant, had infertility issues. Fast forward, I ended up having my son with some help. And so I have this child that I was yearning for, and then he is sick. He's chronically ill, and just the timeline of events that took place, and I was at a loss. And so it came to the point where he was diagnosed with autism. He had liver failure, lung disorder. He had severe psoriasis, eczema. Like his whole body from head to toe would be itching and inflamed, and sometimes it would ooze, and it would just be terrible. And you would never know. I feel like you're racing from one dermatologist to the next, one specialist to the next, and he was on more medications. And I remember so many nights just pacing the hallways going like, wait, is this his last breath or not? Because he was on so many different breathing treatments, and of course at this time so many different medications, but he was just getting worse and worse and worse. And you know everybody in the ER by the first name because you've been there so many times, and all the specialists, they know you by first name. I know them. And I got to the point, I remember, where I was pushed up against it, where I was asked to sign this piece of paper to say that my child would most likely need a liver transplant because of this heavy medication that we're going to have to give him for a second time in his life. And I remember like the walls just closing in and like that tunnel vision happening. My breath was taken away and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. And I myself was running on ragged, just sleepless nights, and my health wasn't well because of trying to run a design firm and then, trying to do motherhood and with this sick child. And so I remember I had to do some special talking to get myself out of that situation and leave. And I just told them, you know what? I need my husband's opinion on this. I can't make this decision without his, so I need to go, but I'll be right back. You know me, I'll be here. I always am. And anyways, when I left, honestly, I remember just sobbing in the car thinking, what am I going to do? I can't do this. I knew with every fiber of my being it wasn't what I should do. And I felt like all avenues were telling me that, but it was like, but what do I do? And so I remember just thinking like, I am on a mission. I am going to search to the ends of the earth, under the rock, walk to China on hot coals and backs, whatever it takes to dive into health. What is it? So I started asking questions, but outside the box. I was just like, what we're doing isn't working. All the contacts we have aren't working. So I'm going to dive into something else. So I started just opening myself up to alternative things. And I was ready to receive. I was reading all kind of books of other moms that have healed their children, other like holistic practitioners, just other modalities, just diving into it all, the emotional aspect, the physical aspect. And I came across FootZoning. I was a hot mess, and so I remember my mom saying, you need to take care of yourself, because I was just running ragged. And I was told, my mom had made a suggestion, why don't you go see your sister? She lives right on the border of Idaho and Utah, and go get fresh air, just take a break, take Calvin, get someone to take over the business while you're gone. And I had assistants to do that. And so anyways, I did. And when I was there, she goes, why don't you go see this this voodoo lady who lives down the street. She like rubs your feet and tells you what's going on. And I was like, sign me up. I'm all for it. But I was thinking, for me, because when I was a child, I had sometimes hard time falling asleep. And the one thing that helped me fall asleep was my dad would rub my feet and I would fall asleep. So feet was like, oh, sure, I'm up for a foot rub. So I went to go see this lady, and there's so many details I can tell you about it, but we ended up getting into her. She had a long waiting list, but I said, you call me at any hour and I'll pop in. But I went there, and of course I was going to have my son and myself done and have me first, and right in the chair within the first 30 seconds to a minute. She was nailing everything about my health. She didn't know me. She even said, oh, yeah, for infertility issues. I'm like, yes. But she was giving me remedies for them, and it rang true. So when she zoned my son, like, she hit everything spot.
Oh,
And everything that's going on with him, autism.
yeah.
Can you hear
me? Keep going. Yeah,
okay.
I lost for a second,
okay.
But keep going. Yeah, I hear you now. Good, good, good.
Okay, and so, anyways, everything she said rang true. So I thought, I have nothing to lose. I'm going to try this. And for the first time ever, he made eye contact with me after that appointment.
Wow.
And I got hundreds and thousands of dollars worth of doctor bills for going nowhere. I'm going to do this. So I would fly and go have this done. I end up, the divine angels aligned. I found somebody in California, and that in itself is a whole nother story. Fast forward, so we did this FootZoning on my son, and within 9 months, the autism diagnosis was retracted. His skin was absolutely beautiful and glowing, and he just had, I mean, his legs that were extremely bowed were about halfway there. His liver enzymes were back to normal, didn't have any lung issues anymore. So I thought, oh my gosh, well, in the process of him getting FootZoned, I was getting FootZoned. And I was making drastic changes along with my son, with health, diet, environment, and I got pregnant naturally with my second. I was told I wouldn't be able to have kids on my own. So, but fast forward, my second had brain tumors. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I have to learn how to do this. In the meantime, I was studying all about plants and nutrition. And I remember the gal FootZoning me, she kept saying, you need to learn how to do this. And I was like, oh no, I got plenty on my plate. I'll come to see you any day. But with my second son and his issues, I realized I need to learn how to do this, because within my journey, I realized nobody else has your child's back like a mom. And I understand we were seeing specialists and all these wonderful people that are extremely bright and well qualified, but there's nothing like a mother's intuition who can really read and understand your child. And so there my journey began, and I started taking the FootZoning courses. But when I graduated, it was about a year of intense training. Went to Montana to learn from the American FootZonology Institute, but learn there. But I couldn't stop. It was like I went on for more training and back zoning and face zoning and learning how to coach it, and then learning how to teach it, and then becoming a master FootZonologist, and then getting my degree in nutrition, and the list goes on, in herbology, because I wanted to make sure that I was not left empty-handed when something else arose with my children. I wanted to be able to know how to help them and how to support their bodies, because those sleepless nights holding on to a thread of hope, wondering if your child's going to take that last breath, I did not want to be in that situation ever again. I wanted to make sure I had tools and resources to be able to do something in those situations. So that lit a fire under me, and I haven't stopped. My oldest is 15 now. My second son is 12, and we did everything naturally with the brain tumors, and now he's brain tumor free. All the cysts are gone, everything. And then I have a third child who's 6 now. So, and knock on wood, nothing has happened with him, but I haven't stopped learning since then. So this is the path that I meant to go down. And what happened with my design firm is I was doing both. I was doing like this holistic thing and then running this design firm. And I was kind of doing both for a couple years. And then it really spoke to me that, you know what, this is the path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I thought, if I can help another mom or another individual that I was once in, I would do it. And so that's just what's been my driving force. And I feel like I've been so blessed with the knowledge and information that I gain over time that I need to share it with other people that are searching or wanting. So that's how I became a FootZonologist. It wasn't like one day I'm like, this is what I'm going to be, but it just kind of found me. And then I went from there.
Oh, Amber, your story is just so incredible and moving. And I can speak from personal experience, like how incredible your work is and how, you know, like even from healing with my own health crisis, like I know I wouldn't be where I am today without you. And I have so much like just gratitude for you on helping me on my personal healing journey, and just grateful for you to share yours. For those that are joining who might not know what FootZoning is, what does it exactly do? I've been through the experience. It is incredible. I can speak to it. I'm a testament of the healing power of it. But for people who are just starting off to learn about what it is, can you please explain that?
Yes, totally. Because people are like, FootZoning, what in the world? So what it is a practitioner works on the feet. We believe that there's a blueprint on the bottom of the feet. And as we know in physiology, biology, there is thousands and tens of thousands of different nerve endings that end up in the bottom of the feet that are connected to all areas, all systems of the body. So FootZonologist practitioner will work with the feet. We start with the right foot, do everything on the right, and then we do everything on the left. And we use our knuckles, our fingers, our hands to access the signal systems on the bottom of the feet to help rebalance the body, detox the body, rejuvenate the body, and get the body back to what it is supposed to be doing. So I don't heal the body. The body heals itself. We just help it. We just help facilitate it. And depending on what is going on in the body will do what it needs to do. Some people with a foot zone, they end up right away starting to detox. Other people start rebalancing. Other people, they start rejuvenating certain systems that need it. So if you can think of your feet as a keyboard and your body as a computer, I get a reset on it. Okay, and so then your body will do what it needs to do. But I'm down there pushing the buttons to reset that system, so whatever needs to happen there to get it back in balance, it will do that. Now, when I'm working on the practitioner, depending on what that specific signal system feels like, it will let me know what is going on in the body. So it's kind of like reading Braille. Okay? If you ever read Braille before, the different dots mean different things. So depending on what the bottom of the feet feel like on specific points, it'll let me know what's going on. So it'll tell me if it's deficient in something, or if it's blocked, or if there's congestion, or if there's inflammation, there's an allergy, if there's a pathogen sitting there. And then you treat the whole entire system. So what I love about FootZoning, it's just not narrowing in on one specific point. If you come to me with a sore throat, or if you come to me with, let's say, stage 4 cancer, I'm going to do the exact same treatment, because we've got to find where the root cause is and what balances are in the system, so you can treat it as a whole. And this is why I love FootZoning, because some people come to me like, well, I've been diagnosed with that, with such and such. That's great, but what is going on under the surface that is creating that dis-easement? And we're able to do the source and get to the root and fix the foundation. And when you do that, beautiful things happen in the body.
Oh, it's so true. And that's something that, our work together, I found, like getting to the root cause.
Yes. Yeah.
Other doctors. So when I found you, it was just amazing. Oh, I think I might have frozen. So hold on. We'll wait for a second. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Amber?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, awesome. All right, cool. Bear with me, everyone. My internet, I've got 3 kids on virtual learning today, so this is to be expected. So we are going to thank the universe for letting this conversation happen today. All right, so Amber, I'm so curious for you if you can talk about the link between emotional healing and physical healing. Because like personally for me, I have had a lot of trauma, which I think triggered physical symptoms. How is this all interconnected? How is emotional healing and physical healing interconnected?
Oh my gosh, it's connected on so many different avenues. So We are not just physical beings. We're emotional beings, we're mental beings, we're physical beings, and we're spiritual beings or etherical beings, any way that you would like to put it. And those 4 pillars make up who we are. So if we just work on the physical, the other things are going to be out of balance. So if you can think of a stool with 4 legs. So they all are interconnected. If the emotional body or if you have a lot of emotional imbalances are off, it's going to throw your physical body off and your health off. If your physical body is off and, it's sick and out of balance and there's some deficiencies, it's going to throw the emotional body off. You're going to be much more reactive instead of responsive. We have to understand that when we have emotions in the body or restoring them, good or bad, it creates a chemical change. It absolutely does. Like all of a sudden I tell you right now, you got to go speak in front of 200 people. You haven't gone anywhere. It's just those thoughts alone. The emotions start. Your heart starts pounding. You didn't go run a marathon. Someone just told you something. So a thought and an emotion, because you're afraid of getting up in front of people, it literally triggers a chemical change in the body. So when you are storing emotions in your body and they are not addressed and you don't allow yourself to feel them and move through them and address them, they get stored in the body, and your body under the surface, whether you know it or not, could be in fight or flight the whole time. Body is in fight or flight. It is in constant survival mode. When it's in survival mode, it has no energy or wherewithal to spend the time healing. It is spending all energy on surviving. So absolutely, it affects the physical 100%. It's like, there's like so many things that are going through my head. Have you heard of the 5 biological laws?
I haven't.
Okay.
I'd love to hear.
Okay, good. And for anybody watching, it'd be great to just do your own research. So you can't spend too much time talking about it. But it's the new German medicine, and this guy, Dr. Hammer, and in 1979 he was diagnosed with cancer, but he was super healthy, many wonderful things going for him, but he had a very traumatic incident the year before. His son tragically died, and the grief that he was holding in his body, but he kept shoving it down because he was an oncologist. He worked in a cancer unit, and so he had people to attend to, so he just stuffed these emotions. And of course he had some trauma as a child. You stuff them because you go on survival mode and I'm just going to do this, I can bury this, I'm strong, and we forget to listen to our body and we forget to address those things. So they get stored in our organs or in different parts of the body, and they literally create a dis-easement, a disconnection, and illness in that area. So he went on to study this, and because he worked on the oncology department, he had a great opportunity and access to all these people. And what he found out, every single person that he talked to had a conflict shock a couple years prior. Now, conflict shock can be like something that you were in a disagreement that happened in your body or happened in your life that affected your body. A divorce, someone passing, you witnessed a car accident, you got news you didn't like. It literally stored a chemical reaction in a brain, and different parts of the brain are connected to different parts of the body. As we know, there's speech area, there's thought area, there's hormone areas, list goes on and on. So anyways, what he connected, without going in too much further in it, but what happens is the emotions that we get stored in our body and our brain literally cause sickness in the body. And then he went on to study more, like why do rashes happen? Why do illness? Why does autoimmune disease? And he can literally trace it back to emotions that we store in the body. So that being said, we are emotional bodies. When we do not take care of our physical frame, our emotional body can be much more fragile. When we do not take care of our emotional body, our physical frame can be so much more fragile. Now, you know what it's like having toddlers, and anybody else who does. If you try to talk to and reason with a toddler who's hungry and tired, good luck. Yep. You're trying to get them to say, hey, we got to get out the door. We got to put our shoes on. And they're like melting on the floor, temper tantrum, because they're hungry, they're tired. They need nutrients to get their body to process and their nervous system to work well. You can't reason with them. That's how our bodies are as adults. When we're tired, when we've gotten chronically no sleep, when we're deficient in minerals and glycogen and electrolytes, we can't reason. And what happens is we react to things. We emotionally react that move into a position of resolve. Okay, I'm going to step forward and resolve that. So again, they interplay off of each other and they're absolutely interconnected. When we're going through emotional things in our life, we need to address it. We need to take a step back. We need to process it. Because as you know, the more we stuff, the more numbing we become, and we don't listen to our body until one day the dam breaks and it starts screaming at us. And it's never at a convenient time. And now we've got a disaster on our hand. So we need to address our emotional body. We need to address our emotions. And it's not easy, but there's so many different tools that we have out there that can help us. Yeah.
It's so true, Amber. And like everything that you're saying is like exactly related to my book, Authentic Power, Give Yourself Permission to Feel, because that like in going through, yay, there's my book. And Amber's expertise.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Must read it. It's divinely.
Well, it's in going to that because somebody asked the question, how do we get rid of the stored feelings and childhood traumas? And like for me, I had childhood trauma. My father died in front of me. I buried that trauma for 20 years. And then it came out as Lyme disease and postpartum depression 20 years later. And it was because of Amber that helped me start to learn through to I needed to address those traumas to heal my body. So for this question, Amber, I'd love for you to answer, like, how do we get rid of those stored feelings and childhood traumas? Like, one, I'll say read my book, Authentic Power, because I talk all about it there. But for you, Amber, since we have you live, what would you say? What would your answer be?
One thing is sit with yourself. I find that most people who've got some trauma, they've learned to survive, and they're really good at surviving and really good at stuffing things. I feel like that can be a gift, but also a detriment. So you need to be able to sit with yourself in quiet. And what I have learned in my experience with working with thousands and tens of thousands of different people, they have a very hard time sitting with themselves. So
I can so relate to that.
They got to get distracted and they don't know why. So sometimes you might not know why, and that's okay, because something happened to you when you were young and you literally pushed it out of your existence. But that memory and that trauma is still stored in there. So if you can start sitting with yourself, okay, and so what does that mean? Start doing breath work. Yeah. Breath work will start to remove imprints in the body. Sit with yourself in a quiet room. If you feel agitated, that you have to be doing something else, ask yourself, why can't I sit here? And a lot of times it comes down to that unworthiness. We don't feel like we're good enough, and we've got to stay busy. We've got to do other things. I'm not going to take care of myself. There's other people that need to be taken care of. If you're noticing you're having a hard time sitting with yourself and doing simple meditation or simple breath work, or just being quiet in nature, if you feel uncomfortable, if you literally can't sit with yourself, you know you need to address things. There are a couple tools out there, and it depends on what you resonate with. Some people resonate with mantras, specific meditation. Some people like instrumental music. Some people like to sit down and read a really good self-help book. Some people like to do grounding. There are some tools. There's one called the DNRS, and if you haven't looked into it, I would recommend it. It's about retraining the brain and releasing trauma in the body and removing the body out of fight or flight. That's a tool. But to be honest, Ashley, this book gives you so many tools. I can tell you have shared so much information, truth, and hope in this book, and given people tools and tricks. So if you haven't, read it. And because in here, you give some homework assignments. And when you're sitting with it, it's like, oh, you'll notice certain things start to come up. If certain memory traumas come up, or my whole thing is emotions. If you're around somebody and they do something and it triggers you, a lot of times we want to blame it on the other person. Well, they did that. Well, why is it triggering something within you? There's obviously word emotion that we're not addressing, and it's showing up, when all of a sudden somebody else does something and we blame them. We should be able to look throughout life, and no matter what the exterior does or other people respond, we need to be able to be separate from that and say, oh, that's their life, that's their opinion. If we're having a hard time doing that, we know that there is something we're not addressing internally. And when we don't address those things, they really start breaking down our bodies because of the chemical reactions that are occurring. So really quick, for example, I don't want to take too long, but I had a client, a very well-to-do client in the Silicon Valley, CEO of a certain company. He had a personal chef. He had a personal person to come in and talk about his supplements, and I would be working with that person. His personal trainer, a personal mind coach, like everything. But he still had chronic ulcers. Everything was perfect. Why? Because his stress and the constant load that he was carrying. I mean, you can't out-supplement and you can't out-eat a poor emotional state of being. Okay, so what I'm getting at is when you don't address those physical, those emotional things, it literally burns holes in your stomach. So, and you might, so when other people do something that bothers you, take a step back and say, why does that bother me? We can have an opinion about it, but if it creates an emotional upward where you have a really strong reaction, there's something within us that is not right, and we need to address it.
It's so true. I mean, Amber, everything you're saying is just resonating with me so much, because I used to be that person that held everything in. I was also a people pleaser, lack of boundaries. Like when you hold trauma in, it comes out in other ways too. For me, it was a work addiction, an addiction, destructive relationship with alcohol. But it's when I learned how to, first of all, it has to do with giving yourself permission to feel, because we want to block those. And then in my book, I talk about the feel framework, which is, focus on that emotion, enter within that emotion, allow yourself to experience that emotion. Emotions are meant to be processed, and then listen, learn, and love that emotion back. We have these emotions are here for us for a reason. We're here to learn from them, and we're here as human beings to experience them in the same way that we allow ourselves to experience those joyful and inspirational moments. We need to experience sadness. We need to experience anger, and we need to get curious as to why we're experiencing these as well. Yeah.
And then, like you said, give yourself permission and then feel it and process it. And then once you process it, become aware, like, okay, and again, coming back to, if you keep doing what you're always doing, you're going to get the same results. So what do I need to change up in my life? Do I need to get rid of toxic relationships, the toxic environment? Do I need to get more self-care? Do I need to spend more time each day processing my emotions and being able to read them and figure out why they're triggering me? Yes. Give yourself permission.
It's so true. Oh my gosh, Amber, I feel like we could talk all day long, but we only have 2 minutes left. So I have a question. Will you come back and do another IG Live? Because I didn't get through any, I had so many other questions, but just any final parting thoughts? And then I want you to also share your website and where people can find more information about you. But what would be your parting thought and message that you have for everyone who's joining today and who's going to listen after?
Okay. My parting thoughts are, my brain's going all over. We need to bring trust and faith back in the human body. We have forgotten the power that lies within us and our innate ability to heal, to cope, and to renew ourselves. You are not broken. Okay. Every day you have the power to restart, to renew yourself. And you don't have to give anybody permission to do that. Each day is a new day. And if yesterday was a flop and just went to pieces, today is a new day, and you have permission to change. Do not get stuck in old belief systems. Do not get stuck in patterns. You have the power to step out of line, to make that change. And never underestimate the power that is within you to make those changes. And again, I want to remind you that your body is not broken. It has the ability to heal. You do have the ability to process these emotions, even though if you feel like you're so dark, you're hanging on a thread of hope, you're in those sleepless nights. Yes, you can. Reach out for help. Start studying, researching. Listen to your intuition. That is extremely powerful. And most of us have shoved and stuffed, and we listened too much to the outside world that we forget what our inner light is telling us. So take a quiet moment, step back, do some breath work, and listen to what your body is saying.
Oh, that is just such a perfect way to end, because that is truly what I call our authentic power, which is that wisdom that we already all have within us. And in turn, it's listening to that wisdom and trusting that wisdom. And that's what I used to never do. But it's when I started getting quiet and still and listening to my inner voice, my inner calling. You could call it divine, you could call it channeling, whatever it is. We all have it. And it's when you listen to it and then trust it, that's where true healing and transformation happens. Right?
And the transformation, absolutely. Yes, yes, yes.
It's so amazing. Okay, so Amber, you're coming back because there's so much more we have to talk about, but tell everyone who's joining right now where we can find more information about you.
Yes, please go to the internet and go to amberbodilyhealth.com. I have so many free resources there, hundreds and thousands of different blog posts with lots of information, scientific research, tools, and tips. I have a lot of online courses that you can take that will help you in all different avenues. Take advantage of them. So anyways, everything is there, amberbodilyhealth.com, or you can also find me on Instagram at amberbodilyhealth. So join in the health movement, and remember, taking care of your health is not just physical, it's mental, emotional, and etherical. And again, if you haven't grabbed this book, grab it. There's so many tips and tricks in there. Thank you, Ashley, for putting that out there.
Oh, thank you so much. I just dropped your website. I just dropped my website. So you can schedule appointments with Amber at amberbodilyhealth.com, right? You have your calendar in there to make appointments, and so many incredible resources on your website. I go there often when I need like new herbs and different things, which is so amazing. And then for everyone else, if you're interested in checking out my book, just visit my website, ashleybernardi.com, and you can learn all about my book, Authentic Power. There, Amber's wisdom is featured in there. It's so amazing. Amber, I cannot wait to have you back.
Let's do this.
We can talk for hours, so I'm just so excited. We'll definitely schedule this again. For everyone that joined today, I will be sending out a recap, an email recap in the Nardi Media newsletter for our Friends of Nardi segment. So you can also visit the Nardi Media website at nardimedia.com. I'm also going to recap our conversation on the Nardi Media blog as well in the coming days. And then we'll have you back, Amber. So thank you so much. I love you. You're so dear to me. And I will see you soon.
Blessings. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate the time that we've had together.
Of course. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye for joining.